Welcome to the Flickcast, the podcast about movies, TV, pop culture, and pretty much anything else. I'm Chris Ulrich, and joining me, of course, my co-host, Joe Dilworth. Joe, what's happening, brother?
How are you, Chris? How are you doing?
I'm okay, man. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Doing
Yeah?
really good.
That's good. Yep. That's good. Keeping busy, keeping your nose clean, or whatever they say?
Well, no, I've been really busy with the day job. As I think I've complained to you guys, you and Mike, our producer. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
I think I've complained about that enough, but I have to say that doing this podcast and getting back into it and back into the groove has really kind of really pumped up my creative juices, which is cool. So I'm energized. I'm ready to be creative, and I'm looking at getting my book back in order and maybe some other creative things too.
Well, that's awesome. Pumping your nads, as they say, right?
Yes. Let's say that.
Let's
sure,
say that, because why not? Yeah, I agree with you, and that's one of the reasons, as we've I think discussed before on this show, that
Sure.
I wanted to get this back going again because I was feeling sort of a void or a rut or a whatever, and again, I don't want to get too deeply into the world if we don't have to, but
Right.
it's still going on, folks. So we can't just
Yep.
forget about it completely. But this has been a very good thing. Last week was a great episode with Matt. That's coming out pretty soon.
Yes.
It's probably out already, actually, if I think about it. And it was helpful. I think that was a good one. And we're also, before I forget, we need to mention this. Our Patreon is coming. If it hasn't come already, it should be out now. By the time you hear this, it should have come out about the same time the infamous Matt Robb episode came out. So
Yes,
please look for that. I know things are weird in the world and everything, and we're not trying to ask for too much or anything, but we'd like to make a quality product, and we like to do a good job, and it takes a little effort, and we'd like to hopefully get some support for that, because that would be awesome. So hopefully you can support us. We'd appreciate it.
Well, and I've kind of felt weird about Patreon. I mean, we always talked about it back in the other incarnation of this show, and I was always kind of going back and forth about it and not really sure about it. But especially, the way the world is now, I'm a big fan of being able to give money to the things that I like and want to support, and giving it directly to that instead of through indirect means and things like that, like buying someone's book on Amazon. Sure, they get some money from that, but if I could buy it directly from the author, I think I would be happier doing that. I do, the band you're tired of hearing about, Marillion, they're all directly fan supported in their endeavors with all their albums and everything they do, and I think it's a cool thing. So I'm good with it, and I feel that we have some people that have talked to us online and expressed interest in this show and have been asking us when we were going to come back, and seem to be pleased we're back. And maybe there's more of those than we think, and I'm okay with, if they want to help support us and get a shout out and get some things extra for their money and things like that. I think that's a fine transaction.
Yeah, I had the same problem. I always felt weird about it too, and I've supported some things over the years on Patreon and in other ways, buy someone's photo book or buy this or buy that, because you want to support artists and all that if you can. And so it seemed like the right time, and it's not like we're going to take the money and go on vacation or something. It's just going to go right back into the show. It's just to help us produce the show, basically. So
yeah,
that's it. No one's going to become a millionaire and retire. Don't worry.
Exactly. We're not going to say, thanks for the money, see ya,
suckers. No. I mean, if that happens, I'm not going to argue, but that would mean there's so many fans that we had no idea about, but that would be awesome. But I feel like you said, there's probably a few who would be interested in supporting the show. So if there is, then we'd appreciate it. We'll
my
see how
hope
it goes.
is that it will give us a little bit to help improve this show and make it even better. I mean, we all know technology advances quickly, and to be able to get better equipment for what we do, to be able to pay the fees for the various things that we do and use to record the show, and maybe we could buy some A-list celebrity guest. No, I don't know if that's done
I think you have to
anymore,
rent
but-
those by the hour. You can't really.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
and maybe some other fun things that we haven't even thought of yet. But
Exactly.
it's all going back into the show.
It is, and a lot of that would be stuff that maybe can't even be done until people can leave the house and stuff too. So.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, we just wanted to get people used to the idea. We're going to do one. We've been saying it for years. It's time. So it's launching next week. By the time you hear this, I keep saying next week, but by the time you hear this, it'll be out. So if you feel like it, no pressure, nothing at all. Just, if you want to support the show, that's great. And now we won't talk about it again for the next 45 minutes.
There you go. We'll just talk about it next episode. So
Yeah, it's going to come up again. Sorry.
yeah.
That's how it goes. Okay, so, dude, what is happening? Bill and Ted Face the
Yes.
Music, which apparently is doing really, really well. So that's great. And I was thrilled because I'll be honest, I was kind of worried. I was like, after I saw the first trailer, I was like, okay, I can probably see this and it'd probably be okay. But damn, I was so happy. It turned out great.
Well, there is a lot of examples, especially in recent years, of shows that TV shows, especially that have been revived, that are old favorites from years gone by. And there's been occasionally, movies where it's been a number of years or decades even, and they brought the original cast back and things like that. And a lot of those have been met with varied success and audience acceptance. And I was kind of apprehensive about this too, because I really love Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I'm actually a huge fan of Bogus Journey as well. I think that's a fine movie and just as funny. But I was worried because it's going to be Bill and Ted in their 40s, and are they? I couldn't wrap my head around how they were going to actually present this and do this. And I will say I was pleasantly surprised and very entertained by it. I really liked it.
Yeah, they did a really smart thing, I think. This may be sort of spoilery territory, so
Sure.
prepare yourselves. Gird your loins.
Yes.
They changed the focus, I think, a little bit off of Bill and Ted and onto the daughters, which was brilliant, I think. And the two daughters in the movie were excellent. Samara Weaving and what's the girl's name? Shoot, I forgot her. Oh, Bridget Lundy Payne.
Yes.
They were both excellent. I mean, they captured the mannerisms of those guys like perfectly, and you totally believed that they were related, and they did an amazing job. And I would hope that they continue the saga with them now. I think that would be awesome.
I would watch another movie with the daughters. That would be fine. And they could just bookend it with Bill and Ted, or not even have them in it. That would be fine.
Well, they could be in it. Absolutely. They could just show up at the end, or, I mean, because if time travel is possible, then I guess it's possible, right? So
Sure.
they could be in it. I've actually been a big Samara Weaving fan for a while. Did you see Ready or Not, the movie she was in, like, I think it was a year ago or so?
I did not.
It's a horror movie. She basically goes to this, she gets married to this guy, and on the wedding night, they play this game of Ready or Not, although the stakes are much higher than you might expect.
Of course.
Or they're as high as you might expect if you expect a horror film, which is what it was.
Right,
So she's great. I think she's great in pretty much everything, and this gives her a chance to really shine, I think. And also Bridget Lundy Payne too. She was excellent as well. But I also want to give another shout out to Anthony Carrigan
Yes.
as Dennis
Yes.
Caleb McCoy, my favorite new robot.
He kind of almost, for my wife and I, he kind of almost stole the movie because he was pretty great. I mean, he starts out as
so
we already
funny.
did a spoiler warning, but he starts out as this like Terminator type guy, and then develops a conscience, which was pretty interesting.
Dennis Caleb McCoy.
I would say the coolest thing to me about the whole movie, I think I've said that a few times now, but the best thing about it seemed to be that the comedic timing for everyone involved was just spot on.
Yeah.
There wasn't any part of it or any gags or jokes or anything that fell flat to me. It was on and it was good. And
Definitely. I mean, and the thing, of course, that I also felt about it as I was watching it, it's a very uplifting and positive movie. There's
Yeah.
a lot of love. There's a lot of positivity. I had to use that word again, and that is something that seems to be lacking in the world right now. And so I was grateful to see that, and I was happy that, and I got to be honest, slightly and kind of relieved that it turned out so well.
Yes.
I should have expected it though. I forgot that the director had also done Galaxy Quest, one of my favorite
Yes,
sci-fi parody
exactly. Yeah.
movies of all time. Dean Parasot was the director, and I should have known that he'd somehow pull it off because he's great, and the script was excellent, and it's just it was yeah, it was thank God for Bill and Ted, man. It's fucking good. So
No,
just
I
what the
agree.
doctor ordered, right?
Absolutely, I agree with you. It could have easily been hokey, or as I said previously, fallen flat, and it just didn't. And it was really positive. I mean, everything that they presented in the movie, even the relationship with Bill and Ted and their daughters, even with their wives, even though there was a little bit of drama there, it was all positive, and the whole thing of uniting not just the world, but all of reality, but in music was like, man, that's if there's a message we need to hear right now, that's it. I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely, definitely. If only it was that easy. Well, it wasn't
yeah,
easy, but yeah,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
exactly.
So yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth watching. I know it costs money, and what are you going to do? But the nice thing is about watching movies at home is like 4 or 5 of you can sit there and watch it, and it's still the same price. Whereas if you
Yeah,
went out to the theater, you could pay more and not and have the same experience or a slightly better experience in a theater, but you could also get sick too. So nobody wants that.
well, and if you buy it too on digital now, you not
Yeah,
only can you watch it with a bunch of your friends, but you can watch it over
that's
and
right.
over again anytime you want.
Do you think people should buy it or rent it?
I bought it,
You did? Okay. Okay.
and that's basically, well, I initially decided I was going to buy it because I'm a completist, and I own the first two movies, but
Of
I'm
course you
glad
are.
I did, and I will definitely watch it again. I plan to have Bill and Ted marathons every once in a while. So
That's cool. Yeah, I
yeah.
still get the occasional screener, so that's how that arrived. So that was nice.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I guess I own it now technically too.
Yeah, you do. So
But it's definitely yeah. I mean, you cannot go wrong with it unless you like hate things that are good or happy or
yes,
and you can't. I mean, I suppose there are people who didn't like it. In fact, I'm sure there were. There's always got to be somebody who wants to ruin it for somebody else, but I don't know who
sure.
that person is. And if I did know them, I wouldn't want to talk to them because they seem like an asshole. So, no thanks.
Yes.
See Bill and Ted, dude. Trust me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great, and there's
Excellent. Most excellent.
there's fun cameos. There's fun nods to the previous movies, and um, William Sadler just once again
Oh, yeah. We didn't even mention
just
him.
kills it as Death, which is great.
Yeah. I'm so glad they brought him back. And it's very sort of, I was going to say poignant, and then I said toignant, like I was going to say touching and poignant at the same time. So it's both of
Coined a
those.
new word.
It's both of those things. And they have
Yes.
a really good scene with the three of them. And I'm not going to lie. I got a little emotional. So,
I did with that. I did with the ending,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
some of the other part when I don't want to spoil this at all, but there is a certain scene when Bill and Ted go to the future that really caught me by surprise, and really kind of I had to pause the movie because I was like, wow, that was beautiful. So
Yeah. Good for Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, man. I mean,
yeah,
good for them. I mean, not that Keanu Reeves necessarily needs a career boost,
yeah,
but it was nice that they could sort of slip right back into those roles, and it didn't seem like a lot of time had passed, except it did, and it kind of came across a little bit with them. They were a little bit more world weary. I mean, even they were going to
yes.
kind of thinking about giving up music and thinking, so it's like they were at their rock bottom, and they pulled it off, and it was great. I mean, we're gushing almost, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, I think I'm gushing just because it was if you were going to do a sequel to Bill and Ted now, 25 years or whatever later, this was it. I mean, it was perfect. Like you said, it wasn't just a rehash or here's a couple dopes again, but there was a lot to it and a lot to their characters. And like you said, you could tell that they've aged. They still talk the same way, but they obviously are competent in their lives because they managed to raise two daughters, obviously with their wives. But yeah, it's really great. I can't recommend it enough, especially right now.
You should really watch that and then watch like John Wick or something. That'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting combo. Maybe
Is
maybe
that
not.
Maybe maybe he has a split personality, and
Maybe that's actually his night job. He's the
right,
Baba
right.
Yaga also.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
So,
boy.
but
So
yes,
yeah,
please go see it. It's
yeah.
great.
It's well, don't go see it.
Yeah, don't go see it. Watch it at home. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I can't.
you're right.
As much as Mike, our producer, would like everything to be back in the theaters, and I don't blame him. I like to go to a theater too. Believe me, I love theaters and I love the movies, but it's just not. I don't love them enough to be sick. So
I would absolutely love to go see Tenet in a theater, but I'm gonna wait till it comes out
you know
on
what? Now,
video.
fuck Christopher Nolan. There, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I kind of.
He's kind of being a dick, and I don't know if I'm into it.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. Should we risk our lives for art? I don't know, but
Well, I mean,
I'm
a
gonna say
little
no.
maybe, but not a lot.
No, not when we don't have to.
Right, there you
So
go. There you go. So see Bill and Ted if you get a chance. See it at home in the comfort of your own home on your couch with your popcorn and your family. It's a family movie. There's nothing terrible in it. There's no I don't even think there's any cursing really, and
I
there's
don't
no
think there
no
is.
nudity and barely any violence. It's not even scary. I mean, you could
Yeah.
I think all of the kids could probably watch it for the most part. I mean, death might be a little scary, and of course, Dennis Caleb McCoy is sort of scary for a minute, but
My name is Dennis Caleb.
When I was a kid, Death was my favorite character in Bogus Journey, and
Well, yeah.
that bunny messed me up for a while.
See, so
he's
yes.
great. No, Sadler's awesome. So I'm so glad that he was able to come back too. It's nice that he also got a producing credit on the movie like everybody else.
And there was a nice little. I didn't catch this the first time, but the second time, they actually include Station from Bogus Journey in there.
Station.
Yes, in a little clever way, but I won't
Well, don't spoil it. We already, yeah. I mean, people have already tuned
Sorry,
out,
yes.
so,
Go
yeah.
rent the movie or buy it. I recommend buying it because you're going to want to watch it multiple
Well,
times.
yeah, and if you buy it, I think more money goes to the production and also
Yeah,
the people who
yeah.
made it and all that stuff. And hopefully, you'll get a Bill and Ted 4.
Yeah,
I'd watch
I'd
that.
be up for that.
Yeah,
I
with
would watch
with the
more.
daughters, absolutely, or even a series. I'd be okay with that too. Netflix,
Oh,
make it
hey,
happen.
there we go.
They're
that
like
would
it's like Quantum Leap, only it's with the Bill and Ted's daughters,
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Little Bill and Little Ted. Did you see the trailer for The Stand?
I did.
What do you? I'm gonna say that I thought The Stand, the original one that I saw when I was a kid in 1994, with Gary Sinise and Molly Ringwald and Rob Lowe. I thought that was excellent and super scary. Jamie Sheridan was great as Randall Flagg. He was super scary and also like funny too. That was a classic in my opinion, and I really enjoyed it. So this is going to have a lot to live up to. I liked kind of what I saw, but I have some concerns, especially since the guy who's in charge of it all, Josh Boone, is also the guy who did New Mutants.
That's true.
So that
Yes.
concerns me a little bit. And he has no experience with horror really or anything. I mean, I know he tried to turn New Mutants into a horror movie, and I haven't seen that yet. It hasn't shown up yet. I thought it was going to be dropped off somewhere, but it hasn't yet. And
Yeah.
so I haven't been able to watch it yet, but
Yeah, I have not either.
he's only the writer of New Mutants, so maybe it's not, I don't want to say only the writer, that was insulting, but so maybe it's not all his fault, but it's not getting a lot of good reviews, and that concerns me about the new Stand, although it seems like it has a pretty good cast. I don't know, what do you think about all this?
Well, so I was a fan of the original live action version of The Stand as well at the time. I want to say it was last year, but now it might have been 5 years ago. I rewatched it, and I don't think it holds up as well as I remember it being, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense.
I don't think it holds up quite as well. I read the book not too long after seeing it was a mini series, right? Yeah.
It was 4 episodes, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like 8 hours or
I
6
read the
hours?
book after watching it, and much like most of Stephen King's stuff that's translated, there's a lot of stuff that's left out in the wash. But I really liked the book, and maybe that kind of jaded me towards the miniseries, only because there were things I was like, oh well, why wasn't that in there? And I don't remember specifically because it's been a long time since I've read it. I'm interested in this. It's kind of one of those things that's like, is it really something we need to have? But obviously somebody thinks they can make some money off of it, so they're gonna.
Well, it's
they're
about an
gonna go for it.
apocalypse, Joe, and a super
Right.
flu. So I mean, come on.
So timely.
What could be more timely than that?
Yes. So I will watch it. I'm not, let's say, a fan of a lot of the film and TV translations of Stephen King's stuff. I prefer the books, and I know I hate to be that guy and be that snob, but it's true. Like Dreamcatcher, they just gutted that story for the movie, unfortunately.
No one wants to read. That's too much work.
And kind of like the same thing with The Shining. I felt that while I
Whoa, be
saw
careful.
the original movie first and loved it, once I read the book, I'm like, well, that's like totally different. And I actually enjoyed the TV miniseries they did of The Shining way more than the movie now. So it's kind of hit or miss with me with translations of Stephen King stuff. I mean, Christine and Cujo are classic films, I think, and do their stories well. So I guess it's up to whoever wrote this and how much love and passion they have for the original. I don't know. So
Well, they certainly have love and passion for money, I'm sure. So.
oh yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Josh Boone is the guy who's in charge of this one. I think they did pick some pretty interesting people. Whoopi Goldberg, who actually was originally going to play Mother Abigail in the first miniseries, but couldn't get it because of scheduling, which is ironic because now she's playing it this time. James Marsden as Stu,
Yes.
and Alexander Sarsgaard as Randall Flagg, which I think will be a pretty good job because he's a pretty good
He's a really
choice.
good actor.
Yeah, he is. He's
Yes.
really good. I would like to see it, and I will see it, obviously, because I like the book a lot. But I think the book is better, and it would be hard to make that into a... There's so much more like metaphysical stuff and all kinds of weird shit in that book that I can't imagine you can use it all in a miniseries. And maybe they'll try this time. I don't know. But it's definitely a good book. I think my favorite adaptation for television, probably, and that's probably most people's, would be It.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't. I actually, that's another case where I like the TV miniseries more than the movie because even though they did it as two films, I don't know. I just didn't.
The miniseries was great, and I think the first movie was really quite good, but the second one was not. I don't know what happened. Something went off the rails for the second one, and so I didn't love it as much. But I thought the first part of the movie was really good, or the first movie was really good. But the miniseries with Tim Curry, I think, is still one of the scariest things ever, really.
That does hold up well, and I watched that recently. And
it does.
Like, oh yeah,
it
that's
does.
still good.
Yeah, and you're right. I love the original miniseries, but I did watch it again recently because I think it's on HBO Max now or something.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, or some network, CBS All Access or some fucking thing that you got to pay for. I watched it and I was not as enamored with it as I once was. I found more of the flaws. I think what it is you can tell in a lot of ways that they're trying to make something out of not a lot because they didn't have a lot of money as you might think.
Yes.
And they had to do it all kind of low, but they shot on 16 millimeter film, and that doesn't. I mean, I like 16, but it doesn't. It looks. I don't want to say it looks cheap. It kind of looks a little like low budgety. So it doesn't hold up as well. I still liked it, but it just wasn't holding up for me as much.
I think I'm more encouraged by this new version of The Stand is they're going for 10 hours as opposed to 8 hours before, and more doesn't always equate to better, but if they are able to pull more from the book, maybe then that it would make me happy at least. But I'm one of those though that I like all the extended cuts and director's cuts, and usually the ones that people are like, oh, that extra hour that was added in totally ruined the pacing of the movie and didn't do anything for the characters. But if you have more of the original story in something, or I'm a huge character moment fan, and I would watch, in the middle of an action movie, 45 minutes spent just on character development alone and be okay with that. And for some people, they're like, oh my God, it totally ruined the movie. So maybe I'm not the best judge on it, but like I said, I'm encouraged that they're going for 10 hours and giving, in my opinion, some more room to breathe and more, maybe they can pull some more elements from the book that we're missing last time. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that's probably part of it because they're going for the extended length, if you know what I mean. But I think they're also there are things in that book that are. I mean, the book is kind of a downer in a lot of ways too, and not
Yeah,
everybody that you want to survives at all.
sure.
A lot of bad things happen to people, and so it's definitely kind of a downer. I mean, I suppose it ends on a happy note ish. But anyway, I'll be interested in see what they do to pull it off. I'll definitely be watching, just like I'll definitely be watching on October 30th when new episodes of The Mandalorian come out. Thank you, Disney Plus. Finally,
Yes. You mean new episodes of The Child? Oh, I mean, yeah,
Child.
The Mandalorian. You're right.
yes, The Mandalorian.
They've kind of screwed it for themselves because obviously the child or Baby Yoda or whatever it ends up being is not around or even talked about in the sequels because this takes place before the sequel trilogy. But they can't like kill the character off, and they can't do anything bad to it because there'd be riots and people storming Lucasfilm. So.
Well, they could if it's multiverse. No, I'm kidding. That was a different excuse. Sorry.
No, that's not in the Star Wars universe. They don't have a multiverse. I
Disney
guess,
owns Marvel and everything else. Everything could be a multiverse. They're all in the same universes. It's all canon.
So
I'm just
Iron
saying.
Man shows up and takes Baby Yoda to the Marvel universe and away from the Star Wars universe.
Baby Yoda's a mutant, dude. I'm just
Professor
saying.
Xavier comes and recruits him for the X-Men.
Baby
There we
Yoda
go.
is a mutant. He's going to be on the X-Men. I'm just saying. Bet me that won't happen.
But yeah, no, I'm the cool thing is we're getting the second season of Mandalorian less than a year after the first season aired, which is really cool. And from what I hear, they're already working on writing or well into writing the third season. So that's great.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. What other shows does Disney Plus really have that are, blowing the doors off? They really kind of needed to get that out. And it's been sitting around. I mean, it's been done for a while, so.
Well, they could have had some more, but
Oh, yeah, that thing happened.
COVID. Yeah.
Fucking COVID.
And they are working on more. They're working on not just more Star Wars shows, but Marvel Universe shows, and maybe that's it. I don't know if they're working on anything else.
Here's
that's,
the
like,
question.
original or what? But
We've also heard about this Obi-Wan Kenobi show for 100 years,
Yes.
whether that's going to happen or not. Now it sounds like it will.
Yeah.
Do we want more from the same characters in the same universe, or do we want to make new stuff? I think that's one of the things about The Mandalorian that I like so much. Yes, it takes place in the same universe or whatever, but none of these characters are really characters you've ever seen before. Kind of, a little bit, but not really. And so I think that's the appeal, at least for me, is it's a fresh take on the whole situation, on the whole story, and you immediately, it seems more interesting to me than, it's, I mean, I love Han Solo. I love the original trilogy, obviously. It's my favorite trilogy pretty much of all time. And I was happy to see those characters back in the second trilogy of movies, or whatever you want to call it, the ending trilogy. But they were so utilized so badly, and the whole thing was just a travesty, in my opinion. All of those movies were not great. So
Okay.
I'm happy to see something like Mandalorian, which is so much better, and it kind of brings back the fun too, which I think was missing. So I take it you don't agree.
actually, well, no, I don't agree with you about the sequel trilogy, but we can discuss that some other time.
Total
However,
crap. Just kidding.
No.
No, they were okay. They were okay. Not
I
great.
do agree with you about the TV series. I'll be honest. You're right. One of the biggest things about The Mandalorian is not only is it an unexplored era of Star Wars, but it's brand new characters. And I really like that, and I like getting to know them. My first reaction when they were like, "Oh, we're going to do an Obi-Wan series, and it's going to be set after he goes to Tatooine," I'm like, "So, is it going to be like the Big Lebowski in the Dune Sea on Tatooine?" I mean, I'm like, "What do we need to see that for?" And I kind of thought the same thing
We don't.
to a lesser extent with the Cassian Andor series, because I really like that character in Rogue One, and it's like maybe exploring his past is okay, but again, I was like, do we really need to? I would rather see some original stories and something new as opposed to treading old ground. I mean, it's like, we don't really need to know the entire life of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, that's kind of what I assumed like the books and comic books are for, and it used to be that way.
Well, they're afraid. They're afraid to generate a whole brand new bunch of IP based on, in the Star Wars universe and have it fail. It's expensive, as you know. So that's why Mandalorian seemed like a good bet. One, it's for TV, so it's in theory cheaper.
Right.
But it didn't turn out to be that much cheaper, but it's still less money. And it's still characters. I mean, you know about Mandalorians, you know about bounty hunters, obviously you know about Boba Fett and Jango Fett and those guys who are similar. And you have some sort of known things. I mean, you have a Yoda, basically, or a Baby
Right.
Yoda, which is a well-known quantity. And you have characters that are sort of on the fringes of being known. Like Taika Waititi, you have him as the robot who's, known in the Star Wars universe. But yeah, I don't, and those are the strengths, and that's enough of the old stuff to make it interesting for the hook. But they took it and ran with it and made it so much better. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Ewan McGregor. I would watch him in most things. I like his motorcycle show, which is fun. He just rides around on a motorcycle, which is cool.
Sure.
But I don't need. Yeah, I don't need. I feel like we already saw Obi-Wan's story. It's like, are we going to get him when he's in high school trying to get laid? Or I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. And then And as much as I like Cassian Andor, he's dead. You know how his story ends.
We ended his story.
He's done. He had an arc. His arc is, I was this bad person sort of at the beginning, and now I've fought. I'm sacrificing myself for the greater good, and I'm going to cradle this person who was my enemy, and I've changed, and they both changed, and that was a good arc, and that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah. I don't need to know how he went bad and all that, because I know it was enough to know he was kind of an anti-hero, and then he helped the rebellion, and like you said, saved the galaxy and stole the plans and all that. But
exactly, and actually, he didn't even know he'd saved the galaxy at that point.
That's true.
He just did it, and they got away with the plans, but he didn't know what happened. But it didn't matter. He fulfilled his mission. But more importantly, he learned to care again, man. I'm just saying. He had an arc. He had a development. His character developed. And I love Diego Luna. And if you want to give him more jobs, give him more jobs. But it doesn't have to be, unless that's the only thing he can get. And then fine, make an Andor show. But it's just, he needs more work. Maybe put him in Mandalorian as somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what my problem with the whole prequel trilogy was that I was fine with the Clone Wars being this thing that, this mythical, legendary thing that we kind of talked about in the other movies and alluded to. I didn't need to see that it was a bunch of people arguing and talking, and that was it for the most part. So it was like, I didn't need to see that, and we spent 3 movies basically on it without actually really telling us anything about it, except if you then go watch the cartoons, the animated series, and then you'll find out even more about it. It was like, well, okay. So it was.
Yeah, we did get some pretty cool
it.
lightsaber battles. Though that whole Darth Maul battle was awesome.
Yeah,
and there's a few
good,
there's a few bits and pieces here and there that were worthwhile. And Mace Windu, cool character. There was some stuff in the things that were good, and you got a lot of fighting and a lot of lightsabers and a lot of Jedi. I honestly think it was just George Lucas saying, this is what I can do in a blank room with a green screen, and isn't it neat? And so I'm going to do this 3 times, and he made a fuck ton of money doing it. So obviously he had some idea that would happen, but I
think that's kind of my
I don't know where
concern.
it went wrong.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my concern with some of the things that Kathleen Kennedy has been saying lately, especially when she's like, we just suddenly realized that we are dealing with a universe that has, goes back 25,000 years. And I'm like, how did you just realize that? Because it's been talked about. But my other thing is, does that mean now, like Rian Johnson's trilogy is going to be, in the past?
They're not doing that now. He's going to do a show with the Game of Thrones guys, so he doesn't care.
Oh, that's true.
He's going to do the 3-body problem. I'm not familiar with that. Are you?
No.
Oh,
I know it's a book, but I don't know anything about it. It was something that I intended to read at some point and never did.
I didn't read it either, but it's apparently a sci-fi epic that's going to be on Netflix, and the 2 bozos that did Game of Thrones are going to make a movie with Rian Johnson. So why?
It's kind of funny that I'm saying this about Star Wars, because I'm like, yeah, sure, we have this.
No more Star Wars. That's what you're
I would rather see the movies. I'm actually fine if they stop with the movies, and I'd like to see any series, or if they do more movies, go forward with different characters, maybe.
They're not going to stop making movies, dude.
Yeah, but I'd like to see us go forward, and I realize the irony of me saying that because I love like Star Trek Discovery, and the new Pike series that's coming out and things like that, because that goes backwards in Star Trek history. But those are things. Maybe I just view the two franchises differently. Star Trek, I don't mind seeing stuff earlier. I mean, we still have Picard, which progresses the universe forward and stuff like that. But with Star Wars, I'm just like, maybe if they chose better, I mean, maybe seeing like the Old Republic and the height of the battle between the Jedi and the Sith might be kind of cool, but I think maybe focusing specifically like on Obi-Wan, the Tatooine years, it's like I don't need to see that, but it'll be good. You know,
I agree. Yeah, maybe it'll be great. Who knows? It probably won't be, but it probably won't be terrible. It'll just be above average, with a lot of production value and money thrown at it. I hope that but I hope it's amazing, as I always do. I hope things are terrific and everyone gets to make 10 seasons of something, because getting work is hard. And so if you get a series that lasts a long time, good for you. I think they should let Jon Favreau be in charge of the Obi-Wan show, though.
I think Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Yeah, Dave Filoni too, for sure.
Completely in charge, and it sounds like they're kind of letting them do what they want anyway. I mean, that's cool, because we're getting some really good stuff.
They just need to be the Disney Plus Star Wars dudes, like Kevin Feige for Marvel. Just here's money. You keep making good stuff, and we will stop telling you how to do it, because obviously we don't know, but you do.
Right.
So good for Favreau, man, and Dave Filoni too. But I mean, good for Favreau. He's
that's really cool.
He's doing a good job.
And they've got like Robert Rodriguez is going to direct an episode of, or has directed an episode of Mandalorian season 2.
You lost me now on Rodriguez. Sorry.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. He's fine.
Is that another? Maybe that's an extra episode we need to have. Do.
No, he's fine. But we should do a deep dive into like directors' careers. I think that'd be interesting.
I think I like that. Yeah.
We'll do that for sure. Especially for our Patreon subscribers.
Yes.
I'm a terrible person. I'm so sorry.
Tease.
So speaking of Star Trek Disco, that's coming back on the 15th, right? Of September or October?
October. I don't know. Whatever month is next. I don't know at this point.
What is time, really, right?
Yes, October 15th. Star Trek Discovery. I can't even say it. Star Trek Discovery, season 3, and it sounds like not too long after the premiere of that, they're going to start shooting season 4 already. So
good. I liked Star Trek Discovery. I thought it was great. They had a good twist last season, and I thought it was well done. And I'm going to be honest, I would watch Anson Mount do almost anything. So a freaking Pike show, I'm totally down with that.
Yes.
And I know that's ground we've tread before, but in no disrespect to the guy who originally played Captain Pike back in the Menagerie, but in the guy in the wheelchair whose name escapes me, but.
Well, that was a different actor than who played him in the pilot.
Well, I like Jeffrey Hunter too,
pilot,
but he was good too. But I'm just saying he's probably too old now, if he's even alive. But
he's not alive.
Okay, Anson Mount and the rest of the cast were
Ethan Peck and Rebecca Romaine.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Not Rebecca Romaine Stamos anymore. So
no, just Rebecca Romaine
before she got Stamos. So anyway, sorry.
Wow.
That's digging deep for that one. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
That's oh boy. Anyway, so yeah. I'm going to watch that. I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about Star Trek Discovery. I just call it Disco because it's fun for me.
Well, and I have I got the T-shirt like they wear in the show that says Disco on it because I'm a dork. So.
Well, that's true. That's why you're on this show, because you're a dork.
Exactly.
A giant nerd.
I love, and there's always the age-old thing of Star Trek or Star Wars. I love both universes in different ways, but I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and the fact that we're getting so much Star Trek TV right now is I'm on board for it. I'm very happy about it. It doesn't seem like too much to me. It seems like kind of like, well, we've been due, and I find that, I know that's ironic because we've had several series before this, but it just seems like everything they're doing is different in tone. It's well made, and it has, all of the series have very interesting characters and tell a unique story that's relevant to that series, as opposed to having like 8 series that are 8 different ships exploring the universe. that would be like, okay, now you guys are just really grabbing for money. But the fact that they're doing something different with each series, and even giving us with the Pike series, that's being promised to be a return to Planet of the Week, kind of non-serialized or non-heavily serialized Star Trek. So I'm a sucker for that too. I'm all for it. So I'm okay that maybe the movies seem to have stalled and may not come back. That's fine, because I think Star Trek to me has kind of worked best in a ongoing serialized episodic format. So
Yeah, definitely. And Pike will be great, and I just wonder who they'll get to play Kirk, because Kirk will show up on that show.
Oh yeah, they're
at
going to
some
have
point.
to have him.
They have to have show up. I mean, they already have Spock, so
Yeah.
they can have Kirk. And plus, Spock was Pike's first officer at first, right? It's science officer first. So
he was in the original pilot that never aired, but he was on that show. He was the science officer. Number one is number one.
Oh, right. That's right. And that was Majel Barrett in the pilot, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So cool. I mean, the original pilot. So yeah, I'm down. I'm glad. I agree with you. I'm glad that we're getting so much Star Trek. I think Star Trek to me was something that I loved before, because I loved it before Star Wars, because we used to move around a little bit. I'm sure I said this before on the show, but we moved around a little bit when I was a kid, and everywhere we'd move, there Star Trek would be on. I could find it, so it was comforting, and so I got to love it. And then Star Wars came out, and I was like, oh, fuck, this is awesome.
Yeah.
On a much bigger scale, it's like sci-fi on a movie screen, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do that now. I would like to do those movies, or I like to make movies and work in Hollywood or whatever. But Star Trek, I think, is always going to be my first love, if you want to know the truth. But there's room for all of it, man. There's room for all of it.
Oh, I think Star Trek, if you, I'm not going to get on a rant about true fans, but
no, because we're running out of time too. So
yes, there are varying opinions on what Star Trek is. To me, it's something. It can be anything. It's a palette on which to tell a wide swath of stories, in any kind of story you want, in a future that is hopeful and unique in and of itself. So I just think it kind of lends itself to more diverse storytelling and different tones than Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars kind of is, you're going to get this grand sweeping space opera type story of, black and white, good guys versus bad guys kind of thing. And it's, if you look across at all the Star Wars movies, even Mandalorian, I mean, it's kind of the same tone and palette, but it's all great, because that's what we want Star Wars to be. That's what Star Wars is, and we love it. I mean, even Rogue One kind of fit into the Star Wars mold pretty well. So I just feel like Star Trek lends itself to much more storytelling. Even though we've had several series before this, it doesn't feel like they're dragging the horse out for one last run. It's really feels like they're just getting started, and there's so much more we can see and explore. Anyway, that's
exactly right. So that's it. Yeah, Star Trek is can be a lot of things, and it has a lot of possibilities, and that's I think why it's an enduring franchise, phenomenon, property, whatever you want to call it, and will continue, just like I think Star Wars will. But I think you're right in a way, because to me it seems like they're trying to force things into Star Wars sometimes, whereas Star Trek is from the beginning designed to be this whole open universe. It's like our 5-year mission to explore all of these worlds, and you can plug in pretty much anybody to do that. You got Starfleet, you've got the Earth, you've got star bases, you've got the Klingons, you've got these other people, you got the Romulans, you got all these races and possibilities out there, the Borg, anything. And it's a huge universe, and Star Wars doesn't seem to do that as well. Maybe they end up focusing on the same characters. It's like, oh, it's the Skywalkers, and again, the Skywalkers are awesome, but at some point it's okay to expand, and I think once again that is one of the reasons why I like Mandalorian so much, is that it's sort of the same, but then it's a bunch of new stuff. And I also like Westerns. It's like a Western to me. So it's all it's a total package, and I'm really happy that we get all these cool shows, and I'm sorry that we have to be stuck at home, but it's not so bad if you get all this great entertainment. So at least there's some positive things, and you also get this podcast, which also is positive. So yay!
Yes. This is it's a diverse and open-ended story. I don't know. I was going to try to tie it into my rant earlier, but you never you can sometimes get the unexpected on this show. That's all I'm saying. Maybe not, but
all right. So that's good. That's I think enough stuff. We should pick some stuff probably, and then get out of here. Do you have anything you want to pick this week? Because I do.
Yeah, I'm just going to be. I'm going to be lame, and I'm going to pick Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Oh, come on! I was going to pick that.
See.
No, I'm kidding. I wasn't.
It united us. See, no. I really felt like it was something because we discussed this on our heavy opener in Return. About how I won't dwell in it now, but how we've been feeling during all of this. The world falling down around us, and how it sapped creativity and blah blah, all this kind of stuff. We've been over that, but this just kind of, I don't know, it was just this spark of goodness and wholesomeness, and not in a cheesy way, that just kind of made me kind of go, maybe things aren't so bad anymore, and I felt good. So I will say that as my pick, because it was a much needed balm in all the pain and hurt that's been going on lately. So there you go.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I would have picked it, but I figured you would, so I picked something else.
I mentioned so well.
I mentioned that I've been playing a lot of D&D, and I mentioned that last week, I think, and I've said that it may be more than one episode, but a show. I'm picking a show. Show is a weird word, because it's actually a Twitch stream, but then it also ends up on YouTube. Anyway, it's a show called Critical Role. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but basically it's a bunch of voice actors, or as the main guy who announces it, or the DM on the show, Matt Mercer, says, it's a bunch of nerdy voice actors who sit around playing D&D. And that's basically what the show is. And I was like, really? People are playing D&D and people are watching? I was skeptical at the beginning, but I sat down, and like 200 episodes later, I'm like totally hooked. So I mean,
Nice.
they played 2 campaigns, or they played 1 campaign which lasted 4 years, I think, and then other than the second one, which has been on for another 2 years. So it's compelling, and the people on it are very entertaining, and they do really good voices, and they're acting and playing out this whole scenario and campaign, and it's really well done, and they make it so interesting. And I love D&D anyway, but I was shocked at how easily hooked in I was to the story, and how I was like waiting every week for it to come back so I could see what happened to my favorite characters. I actually think they're all really good. Matt is a great DM. Matt Mercer does a great job, but I think my favorite sort of performer, if you want, is Sam Riegel on the show. They do a lot of sponsorship, and so anytime there's a jingle or whatever, he's the guy who writes that and performs it, and he's just nice. He's very funny, and he doesn't do an accent really, but he's like the comic foil of the show for the most part, and I totally dig him. I think he's awesome. They're all good. They're all really good, but he's my favorite, I think. And so it's on Twitch and it's on YouTube, Critical Role. They also have other programs too, because they're trying to make a whole studio out of the thing. They have merch. They actually just got Funkos made of them.
Nice.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So yeah, but they basically play D&D every week, and for like 3 or 4 hours, and thousands of people watch and love it. So,
oh hey, I have a friend that works at Funko. Maybe I should talk to him about
Flickcast Funkos. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
I think my head is big enough already, though, so that might be a detriment.
Yeah, people would see mine and go, well, that looks just like you.
That looks about right. That's weird.
Not a Funko Pop. But.
Yeah. No, but it's worthwhile. And the other thing that I think is so great about it is that everything is like, I don't want to get sappy, but it's kind of like from the heart. They're all really good friends in real life, and you kind of feel that vibe, and it's just not wholesome, but it's a positive, sort of uplifting, inclusive kind of thing, because that's what D&D is supposed to be too. It's inclusive to people, and it's a really good entertainment. I'm just, again, surprised at how much I was drawn in and how hooked I am on it. So anyway.
So no Leroy Jenkins moments on that show is what you're saying then?
Well, no, but no, it's really good. So Critical Role, if you have any affection or any interest in Dungeons and Dragons, it's definitely worth watching. Even if you don't care about D&D that much, it's still worth watching because you're like watching a play almost, because they're performing all this stuff too. They're really into their characters. They're really doing the whole thing. So
nice.
Yeah, it's basically like a 4-year performance art thing. It's extraordinary. So I would say watch it, and hopefully we'll get maybe we'll get one of them on the show someday. Who knows?
That would be cool.
It would be cool. So all right, so find the Flickcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and our website. And you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at the Flickcast, and on Facebook still. But we're also we're not on TikTok, just so you know.
And also on Patreon.
Well, yes, I was going to say that. You didn't let me finish.
Sorry.
Also on Patreon. Thanks, Joe.
Yes, there we go. Okay.
I think we talked about Patreon enough, but yeah, sorry, folks. You're going to hear about it now. It's nothing we can do about it. But I'm just happy I was able to get through all of those things without messing it up.
You did well. That was great. And I
did.
think that included everything.
It did. I don't think I missed anything. So I'm happy. I'm going to go home. Wait, I am home. I'm going to go to bed happy or something, or get a drink maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, is it time for a drink?
I think it is. All right, so that does it. For Joe Dilworth, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everybody.